is a 2000 Toyota MRS, and it has clearly been modified into quite the track day weapon. It's owned by my friend Kevin, whose vehicles I've reviewed a few times on this channel before. He does a really great job restoring and modifying classic Hondas, like that super raw B18 C5 swap EG Civic or his all-original time capsule EM1 Civic Si. Well then, what's the deal with this Toyota then? Well, this is actually a showcase for Kevin's suspension company called S3 Suspension that builds bespoke coilovers. And while he mainly focuses on Honda products, he does branch out just a little bit, like with this MRS. Of course, the Honda tie-in is deeper than that because he's gone ahead and done a full engine swap on this beast with a JDM K20a out of an Integra Type R. And thanks to a little massaging, this car now produces 217 wheel horsepower and 160 wheel torque, which should make this thing absolutely fly here in the canyons. So today, let's go for a drive. Alright then, welcome to the office here. So let's go over the interior. Very basic, very late 90s, early 2000s. I love the aesthetic here. Very minimalist. Kevin's gone ahead and put on a Momo wheel, a nice TRD knob, and two very slim fitting Brid bucket seats that I just happen to fit into. With that out of the way, let's commence driving. All right, windows up for better audio. I am suffering for you guys. It is very hot today. Alrighty, what an immense amount of people up here today. I'm gonna try my best. Get some uninstructed driving in. Okay, so as you can probably tell, it's a little bit loud in here. This is an MRS that is partially stripped out, has a hard top, and a screaming, more or less straight pipe K20a back there. It has a single muffler, but that's about it. Initial impressions? Well, one, I like the steering. Obviously, being a very low, light mid-engine sports car, the steering feels great. It also helps that because this is Kevin's track car, it has Nankang AR1 semi-slicks on it. I think it's a 205 in the front and a 245 in the back. So it's very direct, very communicative. Though part of that is obviously from the S3 suspension coilovers, which I have to say, having driven here to this canyon road after picking the car up and hitting these bumps, they're actually quite compliant. Kevin warned me, he's like, I still have the shocks turned up for my last track day, so it might be a little bit much, but it actually feels pretty good. Now the most immediate thing I noticed beyond that is the transmission. Kevin warned me the shifter takes a bit of getting used to, and he's not wrong. You see, while everything else in here is so tight, the accelerator is tight, the steering is tight, the clutch is heavy, it's a really short stroke. The shifter feels like a normal car shifter, which if you had this in, say, my Honda Civic, it'd feel maybe a little bit loose, but kind of normal. But in here, because everything else is so tight, this does get some getting used to because the shifter is very light and the gates are a little bit vague. I'm more or less used to it now, but more than a few times I've gone for third gear and found fifth. Oh well. Alright, so let's get to the engine because wow, this is a really exciting package. So JDM K20a, that means basically a similar engine to what's in my Civic Si, 2 liters, naturally aspirated, absolute screamer, over 8,500 RPM stock. However, because this is a JDM motor, it has a lighter flywheel and different pistons, and this engine just revs so freely. Listen to this. The VTEC crossover, because this thing has Honda data and is tuned, kicks in at 4,500, and the transition just sounds glorious. Listen to this. Ready, steady, go. Because that is a glorious sound and it just fills up the entire cabin. Kevin tells me doing the K-swap was incredibly easy. He said the MR2 is actually decently easy to work on, and the swap went pretty smoothly overall. And that probably explains why I'm starting to see more of these cars out there. It's funny, MR2s are kind of a niche car, but at least out here in Southern California, you know, they never rusted away, you know, so they're still good, and then people are finding them now and doing things like K-swapping them and really giving them a second life. I know the 2ZZ is popular as well, but I have to say, man, the K20 is just a better engine. Man, why does my Civic sound this good? This is unfair. Now I know it's cacophonous and loud and buzzy and ridiculous, but you have to trust me, just take my word for it. In here, it just sounds great.
because the shocks are so good, it's relatively comfortable on the road. And then you just know that when you get there, because this is what, a 2,400 pound mid-engine sports car that makes 220 wheel horsepower with the K-Series, it's gonna absolutely rip. I mean, I've been on the track, this thing's easily 5 to 10 seconds a lap faster than my Civic, and that's already a well set up, pretty quick car. And so how do I wrap this up other than to say then, well, I guess good job again, Kevin, you really know your Hondas inside and out. In fact, you know them so well, you can go to Toyota with your Honda knowledge. Go figure. This car is rad, it drives great, I want one, I'm jealous. Yeah, so go check out Kevin in S3 suspension. Clearly he knows what he's doing in terms of vehicle setup because this thing drives great. And I think that's all I got for you guys because I've been screaming for 16 minutes now and I'm gonna lose my voice. So guys, my name is Jake. You've been watching Drive, Brake, Fix, Repeat. I'll see you guys next time where I go do more fun things with cars. Bye.